Okay, and I'm going to need a distant node, so we'll come over to math, vector, and we're going to get the distance. So we're going to get the distance from here to here, and I want to further control the distance, so I'm going to use a gradient. So I'm going to go over to gradient, and I'm going to plug the result of this distance into here. Now I'm going to want to plug from my gradient to gradient into the displacement, but I'm also going to want to plug some other things in there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a vector scale, and I'm going to plug the output from my gradient into scale, because we're going to plug something into the vector. We're going to basically take advantage of those morphs. And then I'm going to plug the result into the displacement. Now I do want to further control this distance here, so I'm going to double click and open up the gradient. And let's set, when it's close to it, let's set a high value, which white is a high value, and when it's farther away, let's set a low value, okay, which black is a low value. Okay, so we have this set up. And now we just need to take advantage of our morph. So I'm going to go to Add Node, Vertex Map, Morph Map, and I'm going to plug this, let's say Vertex Map, let's choose Shrink. We'll keep the amount at 100%. We might go back and change that. And I'm going to plug that into Vector. Okay, so the distance to the null, and we're going to drive the morph with that. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this and scrub through, and you can see that it's pushing down the shapes, okay, but it's not controlling, it's not the morph happening to the entire object at one time. You can see right here, okay. So I'm going to adjust my gradient a little bit. This is why I wanted that gradient, so that I can come in and let's just say 4 meters, and let's scale that over a little bit more. Here we go. Okay, so by adjusting that gradient, it's controlling it even more. So you can see, remember, this is one morph. It looks like multiple morphs because it's based on the distance to that null. So I don't have to have the entire morph happen at the same time. Now what I'm going to do is swap out that morph just so we can see what it looks like when we use the bend. I'm curious myself. So I'm going to double click and change the vertex map to bend. Okay, same setup, just swapping out morphs, and now we're bending this. Okay, now I can decide the amount of the morph. Say I want to lighten that up. Double click the amount. Let's do 50%. I'll minimize this, and now it's only going to use 50% of that, okay, no matter how close it gets. Now I'm not limited to just setting up one morph. This is where we can really get some interesting things. I'm going to copy this, copy, paste, and double click, and I'm going to set this to 100% and go back to the shrink. Okay, so if I plug this one in, we've got the shrink set up. Now, I want both of those, but I only have, if we look, I only have one input channel here. So what I need to do is use a node that can blend these two together and come down here. So I'm coming to Add Node, Math, Vector, Add. Now, we'll note that there's an add 4, but we can keep adding as many as we want. I'm just going to use add because we've only built 2 morphs, but if you had 4 morphs, grab the add 4. And if you want to blend those together, you can do that as well. So you can use as many morphs as you want. I'm going to take both of these and plug them in right here. And let's go ahead and minimize this. And now I'm shrinking and bending. It's kind of cutting through here, so I'm going to want to adjust some of this. But you can see that we're blending 2 different morphs. But again, it's not happening over the entire object. It's only happening where it gets really close to the distant null. So I'm going to come over to my bend, and let's make it 25% and see what that looks like. Okay, I'm still cutting through just a little bit, so I'm going to adjust, say, maybe we'll do 75% on our shrink. Minimize this. There we go. So as you can see, you can get some pretty nice effects. We're not using dynamics, just a displacement. And some of the ideas that came to mind where this could be useful is, say you want to do a big ocean wave, and you don't want to have the wave morph all at once. Well, you could, wherever the surfer is, you could have the null attached, or make the surfer the distance object, and have it start to morph more as it goes through, and the wave starts going through. You could also set up and animate the amount. So this is just a real quick setup. Let's take a look at the flow one last time. This is a real quick setup for applying a morph based on the distance to an object. And of course, we're applying two morphs here. So this portion is controlling the distance. Okay. The gradient is allowing us to further control the distance, so that we can have full control there. And we're just blending those together into the displacement to get this effect.